Thank you everyone for joining once again. I officially welcome you to day two of the Mastering Cybersecurity IT Controls training and the final day of this intensive learning experience. Yesterday, we explored the fundamental pillars of information technology general controls and how they shape the structure, security, and governance of modern organizations. Today, we will complete the concluding parts of the training, and every section we cover will build directly on yesterday's knowledge. I encourage you to give your full attention because the concepts we will discuss today are more core and important for your overall understanding and the final assessment as well, because at the end of the training, an assessment will be sent to your email. Do not fret, this assessment is designed to help you and to test your understanding of the topics taught across both days. The pass mark is 50% and you will have up to 3 attempts. Once you complete the assessment successfully, your certificates will be issued to you via the same email that you registered with. Today's session will provide clarity, practical insights, and real examples you can apply in your workplace or future roles. Please stay focused, remain attentive, and feel free to drop your questions in the chat box as the class progresses. You will also have the opportunity to unmute and engage directly with the instructor during the Q&A segment. Thank you once again for being here, and let us begin the final session. It's my privilege to introduce to you once again the facilitator and our instructor for day two and the final day of the Mastering Cybersecurity IT Controls training. For those who joined us yesterday, you will agree with me that our instructor delivered an engaging and highly practical sessions, providing clear insight into information technology general controls and their roles in strengthening organizational security. His guidance yesterday laid a strong foundation, and we are grateful for his expertise and dedication. For participants joining today, please allow me to introduce him fully. Ade Folorunsho is a globally recognized cybersecurity expert and strategic IT consultant for over 15 years. With over 15 years of work experience in another experience in information security governance, enterprise risk management, and digital transformation. He has worked with high-level government institutions, financial enterprises, and multinational organizations from design and implementation, IT control frameworks, amongst others, that mitigates risk and supports secure business operations. Its professional certification are many, but amongst them include CISA, CISM, Computer Security Plus, MCSA Security, and Advanced Microsoft and Cloud credentials, giving him a strong authority in IT audit, governance, and control practices. Ade Folorunsho is also a respected trainer and mentor, having developed content and frameworks used in professional security education worldwide. Today, it will guide us through the final and the most crucial part of this training, highlighting advanced application, practical strategies, and key takeaways that will help you confidently apply IT controls in your workplace or professional roles. Please join me in welcoming back and meeting for the first time our instructor, Ade Folorunsho, as we begin the final day of this training. Over to you, Funsho.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can now. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, my dear host, for the introduction. And I'd like to welcome you all to this lab of the training, which is the final, just a 2-day training on IT controls, particularly ITGC, information technology, um, information technology general controls, as you can see on the screen. I want to quickly ask, I hope I'm audible at your end. I hope I'm clear. The voice is clear enough. Can I get a thumbs up if I'm audible at your end? A feedback quickly, if you can hear me. Okay, thank you. I was waiting to get that. Thank you, Barakat. Yeah, for those joining us today, I will just run us through quickly in a few minutes what through the slides we had yesterday, so we can be on the same page. Thank you, Adito and Miriam, for the feedback, so we can be on the same page. IT controls is a critical part of the organization's IT infrastructure. But then the emphasis here is on general control, like I did say, while starting the class. But then let's get to understand the concept of control. A lot was said yesterday before we got into control. I tried establishing a body of knowledge or a premise around the concepts. So we saw cybersecurity as a form of control. And then in the light of ITGC, yesterday we saw the difference between information security called InfoSec and cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a subset of information security. Why cybersecurity is particular about cyber attacks? Information security cuts across the entire digital space of the organization. Information security extends beyond the internet connection or connectivity to the internet down to, let me put it this way for clarity, the security put in place over on-prem resources, on-premises, if you're new to that word is new, on-prem resources like the intranet or even the LAN, the local area network of the organization, and extends into the cyberspace. And not just within that space, also to third parties and personnel working remotely. All those security measures put in place is what we call information security. It also extends to manpower security. I mean, an example is training. Training your employees, training third parties are also part of information security. Although both concepts, information security and cybersecurity, are often used interchangeably, but you are in a technical class, you're in a professional class, and we need to delineate both concepts. And I think that's clear. Please, you do well by listening to yesterday's recording, so you can have a proper in-depth or full in-depth of the difference. So we also saw the analogy of information security and cybersecurity using a bank in that instance. And we saw the importance of the CIA triad, as it is popularly called in the world of tech, not just in the field of cybersecurity. Confidentiality, integrity, availability. Confidentiality protects digital resources and digital space. Please note, I used that quite a lot yesterday, the digital space and the digital resource. A network typically is a digital space, right? Your phone, yes, though it's a digital resource, can also amount to a digital space. A digital space is one where digital activities do take place. For instance, can you initiate a transaction on your phone and consummate it? Does your phone provide you, or does your laptop? Very good example. Let's use Funsho as an instance. I'm using myself. Funsho runs an online business, and he wants to keep an account or record, financial record of his transactions. So Funsho goes to Play Store or iOS Store, Apple Store, download an app, maybe just a basic ledger app, and uses that to record sales and purchases as well. Just simple general ledger application. Or he uses that for what? Issuing invoice or for inventory management. That device has become a digital space. I hope you are getting me. Or accommodating that operation or those set of operations. Let's take, for instance, a typical accounting software will be able to handle inventory, handle general ledger, which will include expenses and land. Maybe we should be able to handle sales and purchases, that's payable and receivable. So it means if that software is able to perform general ledger, receivables, payables, and inventory, then there will be some activities within that application can process. So it means your device, that phone, is now a digital space accommodating the software, which is the digital resource. I hope you get that. The same thing too applies to a laptop or a desktop. If you have a desktop solution or a desktop version of, for instance, QuickBooks, Sage, small business accounting, zero accounting, and the likes, and just for the single user, doesn't require the internet. That's why we call them desktop version. And then you run your business with your financials there. That laptop or that desktop has become a digital space, accommodating digital resources like data and the software. I hope that is clear. So please keep that in mind. That is at a micro level. At a macro level, the digital space can be in the cloud. The digital space might be on-prem. Yes, even your digital space might exist in a virtual machine. Why? I mean, that virtual machine might exist in the cloud or might be in the cloud. You might set it up in the cloud or might be on your laptop, on your desktop. So for the opting side, the virtual environment, your laptop, a network, the cloud, and even your phone on your laptop can be a digital space where computational activities or computing takes place. Why the software, the data, the hardware, and other resources you put together, you integrate together to carry out those computational activities or processing activities or business activities will amount to digital resources. Now, I'd like to cap it up with this, that once you have a digital space with digital resources connected together within that space to carry out computing activities, you now have what we call a system. If that system is going by the analogy I just shared, then that system will be called a TPS, a transaction processing system. I hope that is clear. For instance, you would find an e-commerce platform performing transactions, right? And that becomes, it means that e-commerce platform is a digital space accommodating two or more applications, right? Web applications and even mobile applications being able to integrate with it from your devices. And all of these solutions that are software that are working together within that space makes that space a system. So it becomes a transaction processing system. I hope that is clear. So across our digital spaces and the digital resources within the digital space, there's the need to protect the data and the other resources like software and even the hardware within that digital space. There are three key objectives to be met in that instance, or three key security requirements that must be implemented in that instance. It is called confidentiality, integrity, availability. Confidentiality, for short, protects the access to that digital space. So it might be the protection of or the protection against. Please keep that in mind. Control measures are protection of and protection against. Protecting user accounts is what? Protecting user accounts so that only the user can access that account. And that's confidentiality at work. They're protecting that user account against unauthorized password change. Is also confidentiality at work. I hope that is clear. Should I take that again? Okay. Please keep this in mind that cybersecurity or IT controls or information security primarily is a protection of and a protection against. So I would like to put it here for clarity that information security does both information protection of and protection against. But cybersecurity primarily is actually protection against. The cybersecurity majors more on what? On attacks, protection against attacks. But when it comes to information security, there's basically both cybersecurity and information security, which are critical parts of what? IT controls, are developed to protect what we have and protect against intruders attacking or compromising what we have. I hope that is clear. So confidentiality will be protecting what we have and also protecting against a supposed attack that would compromise what we have. So that's confidentiality. Then we've got integrity, which is the protection of the sanity, the saneness of data, of digital resources, like completeness, accuracy, verity, and the likes, authenticity of digital resources. And availability is ensuring that resources are available and usable to unauthorized users at when needed. So it means if you are putting measures in place that will deny an unauthorized persons, unauthorized persons from accessing and using a resource, you also, and on the flip side, you are ensuring that resources are available to authorized persons. I hope you get that. Let me take it again. Though availability is by its primary definition is the protection of resources by ensuring it is available and usable to an authorized person as at when needed. Then on the flip side of that protection is ensuring that that resource by some implementation, which we call maybe rules or permissions, is protected against an unauthorized person using it. Because when resources, please, this is one of the beauty of implementing availability. It's not just enough to make the resource available, but also ensuring that resource is not available. So an unauthorized person is also availability, because by not making it available to an unauthorized person, makes it available to an authorized person. I'm sure what are you saying there? I hope you're not confusing it. No, I am not. I'll clarify it. Clarify that quickly. When resources are available to unauthorized persons, that resource is being exposed to unavailability to an authorized person. Is that clear now? You get that picture? Is it clear? How do you get it? When resources are available to unauthorized persons, you put that resource at the risk of being unavailable to authorized persons. Do you get that? Okay, so protection of and protection against is what the CIA does, and generally what cybersecurity or information security does. So we saw governance and risk management. We saw IT control fundamentals. As a matter of fact, we saw controls generally as measures or techniques we put in place. Now, I told us yesterday that we are assuming this as our task. So we're going to continue in that light today. We're going to be assuming this training. Whatever we're going to learn here, we're assuming it as. So I hope you're used to it now since yesterday. I mean, yesterday I was using us, we. So we're going to be assuming, we put measures in place to ensure, be they technical measures, administrative measures, or logical measures, but they are measures, techniques, modalities we put in place, might be through the use of instrumentation such as tech tools, policies, procedures, guidelines, and the likes, to ensure that one, objectives are attained, two, the risk identified and addressed, then three, necessary measures are put in place to restore the system or a subsystem back to normalcy should an incident occur. These are the three primary objectives of control. Now, in the light of technology, be it IT controls or security controls, don't worry, we're saying one and same thing. I hope you get that. In some instances, it will be called security controls. I think I did all of this explanation yesterday. So please, you do it by referring to yesterday's recording. And the links were shared yesterday. So you do it by referring to them. To those links and to access the recording. So let's go on. We saw controls as being preventive, detective, corrective. We also saw controls in their implementation. It might be manual, automated, or a hybrid of both. Then we saw these two big aspects of IT controls. Basically, IT controls from the operational level to strategic level can be general control and can be application control. I did mention yesterday, I'm reiterating it today, that our next free training, our free trainings are quarterly. Please keep that in mind. You may want to put that in your diary. SkillToPro Academy has it upon itself as a corporate social responsibility to offer free cybersecurity training quarterly. We started this in the third quarter of this year, and this is the second of its kind, the fourth quarter. So every quarter, please just keep in mind the third month in each quarter of the year, free training will be available to you. So this is one of them. So please put in mind the next training, which will now be in March 2026, will be featuring IT or be presenting IT application controls in full light. So not to worry, today's zone, IT general control, I'm going to granularize it. Yes, I'm going to bring it so plain and low. That's what I intend to do today. I want to bring these controls so close to you that you can master them. You can know them by heart. So for general controls, they are IT controls that are generic. It applies to every user and resource in our digital space. Do you get that? Controls that applies to all. Nobody's exempted. But when it comes to application control, they are specific. One uniqueness with application control is that they are designed into technology. Do you get that? For instance, you're using an email server or an email system, right? The controls built into that email application or into the email server is what we call application control. You find that control by design built into the application. Application controls are very specific and above all, very logical. So it is best you know general control first before you know application control. So prepare your mind for that time. We're going to look at general controls today. So general control applies to all, right? Both in the physical space, physical operating space of the organization, and you find it on the network, you find it across board. So let's get into it. So we also saw these three lines of defense as though the three lines of defense as a concept from the Institute of Internal Auditors. You may want to visit the site and learn more about it. THE, that's DIIA.org. Credit to them. They gave us this concept. The hallmark of the three lines of defense is in the light of risk management. And if you go by the definition of control, once again, control has three critical objectives or core objectives. One is what? To ensure that the business or the institution or the organization, profit-making or non-profit-making, public or private sector, is actualizing or achieving its objective. That's the number one objective of control. The number two is to what? to identify risk and respond to it, which we call risk management. So it means the 3 lines of defense, though it is risk-centric, is a form of control or a control measure. I hope you get that. It's a model. It's a risk management model that when you implement it, personnel across 3 lines or 3 layers within the institution as typified by the IIA, that the first line is called, those that there's the line 1, and put it this way, line 2 and line 3. Now, those at line 1, they are the one, we call them the foot soldiers, personnel on the floor. Do you get that? Yes, that's the operational staff or the operating, those handling operations, operating activities. They are the ones called or attributed as what? First line. So from the 3 lines of defense, they are meant to assume the responsibility of identifying risk, not necessarily managing risk, because that appears weighty. No. But as part of risk management, they got a part to play, which is to identify risk, and they got the skill sets, assess it or respond to it. Otherwise, upon identification, they can escalate to the second line. That's what you got professionals. And that's where this program, this training truly is, IT controls. That's although control cuts across the entire lines of activities or management of the organization, true. But within the scope of this model, should we fit in IT control? So the experts who provide control, this is where they belong, and it's true. Line 2. Line 2 are experts in risk management, in control measures, maybe operational controls, IT controls, financial controls, you get it, compliance, and the likes. Then the internal auditors, who are personnel at the 3rd line of defense, now assess, or what we call evaluate or audit, carry out an audit of the 1st line and the 2nd line. You want to say something? We can hear a background noise. Is anyone saying something? Okay, so that is what the 3rd line does. They are the auditors. Anytime you remember the internal audits, or just internal audit comes to mind, for any organization, even that where you work, please, that's the 3rd line. The risk managers, the compliance officers, the quality control, and the likes. The web got specialists, that's the 2nd line. Then those guys on the floor, we usually call operational operations, those working in operations, production, and the likes. They are on the 1st line. Okay, so that's it. I want us to get into today's what we got for us today. The crux of this training, actually, though generally, basically is on IT controls, but specifically is on the general controls within IT control. IT control has got 2 arms, like you saw earlier, ITGC, general controls, and ITAC, application controls. So let's look at the general controls. It is rightly said here that there are policies, procedures, and techniques that apply to all entities overall IT environments. I just explained what we call IT environments. Often, that's what I call, in my language, in my parlance, digital space. An organization's IT environment, I know in the mind of a layman, I'd say the IT environment will be what? The network, or what? The internet. It spans beyond the 2. Right? Your phone is an IT environment. I've just explained that in the light of digital space, right? Digital environment, and then digital resources. So all control measures that are put in place within the digital space or IT environment, within a computing space, is what we call general controls. I'm going to look at them specifically. So they are designed to ensure that proper development, implementation, operation, and maintenance of information system are carried out. So let's get into it properly. But please keep in mind also, said here, that there are high-level internal controls that govern the management and reliability of IT processing, data processing. So all control measures that are put in place to secure or to ensure that the digital space is functioning as designed is what constitutes IT control. Let me also say this, that you easily identify IT controls than application controls. Oh, so easy. So easy to identify IT controls. In fact, one of the easiest places to identify IT controls is from the main entrance into the organization. You can start spotting IT controls from the main entrance. I mean, general controls, from the main entrance. Or let's say, if the building doesn't have a physical perimeter, like a fence, from the reception, you can start identifying general controls. General controls are very obvious. And they are operational all of the time. But application controls are not obvious until you have contacts with an application, with a software. Do you get it? That is when application control becomes obvious. But for general control, it is very obvious. You can find it operational. As you come in contact, just physical contact with an organization, you experience general control. These are the 4 domains. Today's training session will be looking at the rudiments of each of the 4 pillars of this control, this particular control. I want you to, even if you can't bring anything quickly to mind after the end of this training, I want you to put these 4 in mind. I will say this and I'll say it again. I said it yesterday. I want to say it now and I'll repeat it again, that not so many cybersecurity experts or generally IT experts know IT controls very well, let alone general controls. That's 1. Then 2, those who carry oversight responsibilities on their shoulder or on their desk, management responsibility and governance responsibility, not so many of them know what we're about to learn now. And I'm so glad to bring this to you in their rudimentary form. Very, very basic. You would appreciate this training when you see the slides that will follow. So please keep these 4 pillars of IT general controls in mind. It starts with control measures associated with software or program development, or in general sense, system development or acquisition. Whether you are developing a software or a solution, including a website or a database, as the case may be, any of these software-driven systems, or you are acquiring, there are control measures you are going to see tonight that are designed for these kind of projects. So it means for IT projects, because software development or acquisition is a form of project. As a matter of fact, it's an IT project. Please keep that in mind. For those of you who are familiar with this concept, it is in short form popularly called SDLC, Software Development Lifecycle, though that's one of the methodologies for implementing systems development and acquisition. Then we got change management. It was mentioned in passing yesterday. Someone asked a question around it, change management process and all of that. If you are on this call for that colleague of ours who asked that question yesterday, sorry, we are all colleagues in a professional setting. That is how we address ourselves. This is a professional class. SkillToPro Academy is a professional academy that offers professional and technical education. So I need you to know that do not find it strange that we are addressing you as colleagues. Once again, in a professional class, every participant is a colleague. So for our colleague who asks a question on change management, welcome on board. I'm going to show you in specifically the change management control measures and then logical access. This is what you always come in contact with when you're trying to access technology, from logging in, providing username and password and all of that, credentials. Then computer operations. Oh, really? You mean everyone who uses the computer, there is a general control measure for them? Yes. So let's get into it quickly. The journey is quite long. The objectives and importance of general control includes one, the CIA. I mentioned that. It's meant to achieve the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, security requirements of what? Of the digital space or the digital resources and all that is contained in therein. And also one other bounty from GC, general control, is to ensure there is segregation of duties. What do we mean by segregation of duties? Is a measure, a control measure we put in place to ensure that same task is not initiated, performed, and consummated by one and same person. Do you get that? There should most especially tasks that are critical in nature or sensitive in nature. It's not initiated by one and same person, processed and consummated. You may want to say, what do you mean in banking? I walk into a bank, I submit an instrument for withdrawal, and that lady, that guy, that teller attends to me and doesn't, he alone initiates the whole thing and it's good. There are what we call permissions and limits that are set on transaction processing, initiation and consummation by one and same person. For those working in the bank, you know what I'm talking about. But once it exceeds that limit, a second party or a third party, or even more, depending on the volume, the weight of that transaction, would be involved. In fact, there are some transactions that are initiated at a branch, and before it is consummated, the head office will be involved in it. That is a good example of what? Segregation of duty. I hope you get that. So let's get into it and see more. Impact of not having a sound general control system. Of course, if you impact the business, there'll be system downtime. Please keep in mind, every time if your organization keeps encountering downtime, server failure today, network failure tomorrow, you know what I mean? You know, errors, the system is always generating errors. And you say, but I imputed the right data. Why is it giving us errors? They are signs that general controls are not sound, are not effective. Fraud and theft, I think that is clear. So if our general control measures are not good enough, there will be vulnerabilities, right, or exposures that can be exploited by both insider threats and external threats. Then inefficiency, of course, productivity will be low because the control measures are not there or are not sound enough. Impact on financial reporting, it might lead to violation of what? Of regulations like Sarbanes-Oxley's Act, the one operational in the US, or Basel Accord, the one operational in Europe, and some other laws that are operational in some climes of the world. So ITGC is an enabler for compliance to standards, frameworks, and regulations, or even laws. If it's weak too, there will be loss of audit opinion. That is, the auditor will not be able to express a sound opinion. Of course, an auditor will audit your system and finds lots of vulnerabilities. Wouldn't say your system is sound or is good enough or can be reliable. Of course not. He's going to qualify that report. Do you get that? Accountant in the house know what I mean by qualification of an audit report. Okay. Then impact on compliance. It like that of Sarbanes-Oxley's Act, the same thing too. There'll be weak GDPR will violate, weak GC will violate the specifics or stipulations of standards and laws such as GDPR, HIPAA, and PCI DSS, as you can find. PCI DSS is one of the standards, one of the very loud and popular standards. I say loud, very effective. So to put it, standards in the financial industry or in industries where cards, the use of cards for virtual card or physical card for transaction processing is in use. Then HIPAA, Health Information Portability and Accountability and General Data Protection Regulation in the UK. HIPAA is in the US. PCI DSS is a standard, not a law. HIPAA is a law. GDPR is a law. GDPR is in the UK. HIPAA is in the US. PCI DSS is universal, not a law, a standard. So let's now look at the 4 core pillars of GC. Welcome on board. Pillar 1 or domain 1 of GC is called logical access. Please, for the opting time, I want you to quickly look at the 4. Please memorize this, commit this to mind. Do you get this? Just commit this. If you have a pen and a paper, you can, or on your phone, you can pick your phone. I have a reason for asking you to commit this to mind. So you can quickly just send it to yourself like a WhatsApp, or just drop it somewhere. The 4 pillars or domains of ITGC: logical access, change management, computer operations, and systems development. So let's get to work. Logical access controls. What are these controls? What controls amount to logical access control? They ensure that only authorized individuals can access. Now, please keep this, what I'm about to say now, in mind. Mind you, quickly. Let me take you to this. Look at this slide. CIA, right? Now, please put this in mind. Confidentiality, integrity, availability, SOD, and there are other security requirements, like I did mention yesterday, and I repeat quickly. 5 is N and P. That's the 5 is authentication, authorization, accountability, audit. That's 4. Authenticity. That's 5. Non-repudiation. That's 6. Permissions. That's 7. Right? In addition to CIA, that's 10. Then add segregation of duties. That's 11. So please commit this 11 to mind. So want to see how these control measures would help protect or enforce these 11 security principles or attributes. Mind, I hope that is clear. So let's get to logical access control. Primarily, this control or set of controls would ensure that only you, an authorized individual, can access your organization's systems, applications, and data. An unauthorized person cannot. Do you get it? Logical access. An unauthorized fellow cannot. So the first action, let's get to it. Now, within logical access control, there are 4 categories of controls within the logical access control. We got user access management. In other parlance, it is called IAM. Or let me put it this way, that within IAM, identity and access management, we have user access management, we have authentication and authorization, we got privileged access management, PAM, we got segregation of duties within identity and access management. If you know that concept very well. So it means IAM is a logical act or enforces logical access control or implements logical access control. Do you get that? Identity and access management is an area of specialization in the field of cybersecurity or in the tech world. And it provides IT controls. Do you get that? But now, in the light of IT controls, general control. So IAM is a subset of GC, general control. Am I communicating? So look at these 4 categories of logical access control and how they can be implemented. Under user access management, this control ensures that user accounts and system privileges are properly created. For simplicity's sake, users of our system must have a credential. A credential here means an account. An account here means their login. I'm trying to make it simple. So when people say, what's your login? They're simply asking for your credential. When you ask, enter your login in local parlance. Just say, enter your login details or enter your login. Fine, that's correct. But then you're simply asked to provide your credentials. Now, one of the controls within user access management is provisioning. For a first timer to our organization, be that first time an employee, a contractor, or a partner, he would need to have his access to our system defined. Please keep this in mind and let this be very close to you. These are general control measures that should be in a digital space. Let me take it again. These control measures, GC, 4 of them that we're about to look at now: operations, logical access, system development. Please keep this in mind, that they are control measures that should be found in a digital space. Do you get that? Now, within logical access alone, as one of the control measures in general controls, is user access management. So a first timer to our institution, often called a joiner, we should have his or her credentials provision. That is, there should be what? An account created for the individual. In other words, what that is telling or communicating is that our environment is not accessible without providing the necessary credential. Do you get that? That is, you don't just connect to our digital space. Even as simple as internet, we say yes, the internet on our network or in our institution is free. That is true. But you don't just connect to that internet conveniently when it's not a park. You know what I mean? The organization is not a marketplace. The institution is not existing in a square. It's an organization. So if you must access our network and use our internet, you must have a credential. In that sense, we're not saying there has to be a permanent username and password. Just approach perhaps the front desk and a card will be issued to you, or the necessary login will be given to you. So that shows that as a user of our system, we must implement credentialing. Do you get it? There has to be accounts that we must put, or measures put in place to ensure that a user of our system must be authenticated. Key aspects is to grant based on job role. That is, that individual who is joining us, either as an employee, as a contractor, or as a partner, can only or should only be given access to our resources. Yes, he or she is an employee, the third party, vendor, an end party, or even a partner. But then access to our space should not exceed their job role. You know what I mean by to our space? Our digital space could be in the cloud, could be on-prem, but access to it should be premised on what? On the extent to which they need resources to get their job done, which is called the principle of least privilege. That user must not have access beyond access to our digital space and resources within the space beyond the job they are to perform. Otherwise, it will lead to an abuse. And that individual just might be negligent. That negligence can create an attack surface for an attacker to pass through to gain access to our system. And that is why the principle of least privilege is one of the enforcements in general controls or in logical access control. Then there should be approval. Please, what we're looking at, I'm going to skip some of the bullets, but then very detailed. Please refer to the video. Every slide will be shown as we go. So you can refer to the video, pause at some points, and just study, and even extract. Okay. Now, there should be approval from the HR before such an account can be created. The HR, the IT, or the hiring manager, if it's not the HR, if we have a consultant doing that for us, there should be an approval. Oh, there should be a request to that effect that an individual, Julia, is joining us, and please, IT, create an account. And someone has to verify that claim and approve. Then access creation is documented and traceable. And that is why there must be a request to it. If there is a requisition for an account creation for a joiner to our institution, it should be properly documented. If it's in a system that uses paper, fine, the paper should be properly filed, but then it should be through a digital medium so that we can trace where the requisition came from, who checked it, who approved it, and who eventually did that at the IT arm. Is it the systems administrator or who? Or the IAM manager or personnel officer. Then user receives unique ID. This time, their username is created at maybe a first-time password. So once they log in with that, they are required to do what? Change that password. If this is not in place, account provisioning for a first-timer, new staff receiving unauthorized or excessive privileges might occur. I can say this loud and clear that based on my experience and encounter, there are institutions where certain persons just have unnecessary privileges, elevated privileges, and the network or the systems admin does not even know that such persons have elevated privilege. And such persons who might later realize or who know that they have such privilege will not disclose it, which will be exploited to their advantage. Inadequate provision would also lead to inadequate audit trail of who approved the access. Who requested for it? Fine, the HR did. But who checked? Who approved before it was what? It was created. So that the individual approving it will see if the permissions given to that fellow or the privileges are in excess of what the personnel, the joiner, requires, or are just moderate, just equal to the task. And that is why least privilege should be enforced from the very start of an account creation. I hope you are getting me. Least privilege should be enforced so that the person has the least of all privileges to our resources. If that individual, that person, that joiner now needs more access, it should go through the normal procedure. So institutions should have procedure in place for privilege or permissions, privileges or permissions to be granted. There should be a process in place. Not that yes, the individual might be a manager, might be whoever, but at the point of joining, privileges should be at their minimal, should be so minimal. So through normal requisition process, there can now be need to do upon approval to privileges of that. The next within the logical, looking at user access management. The next here are the what? The movers. The employee who is moving from one job role to another job role within the institution. So what should we do here? We should remove his or her access in the previous job role so that on this new job role, he doesn't have access to what he could access, the resources on our network could access. For instance, now he was handling transaction processing. Now he's now moved to what? He's moved from customer relations to what? To marketing or to the strategy or to, let's say, to internal audits. Is or our access to customer accounts, customer records that could initiate transaction should be removed. But he or she is still an employee, yes. But the new job role does not require him or her to be able to initiate transactions. So what should happen to that fellow's permissions? Should be what? Should be removed. Permission to customer accounts or rights to customer accounts should be removed. And the rights or privileges required to resources to get his or her job done as an auditor should be granted. Do you get that? So key aspects also include granting access relevant to their job and periodic reconciliation to avoid privileges accumulation. From time to time, can be an automated process, can be manual or a hybrid of both. From time to time, we have the personnel who vets or vouches and does vetting of what? Of privileges to ensure that personnel do not have privileges in excess of what they need for their job. If it's not there, that's the risk. Please, I want to move on quickly. Then for leavers, I want to say this, that the logical access control for a leaver, an employee leaving our institution, a third party leaving our institution, a partner leaving our institution, the control should be more than when they were joining. Oh, really? Yes. When an individual is joining the organization, oftentimes the control is just one. I mean, the access granted is oftentimes one. But as the individual grows with our system, or job enlargement and job enrichment, if you know that concept in management, takes place as his job enlarges, as his job becomes enriched, permissions are increased. Do you get it? Permissions scale. Now, access to applications increase. If these are not properly documented, if that individual is leaving, do you get it? The individual, the control measures we should have control measures that check all their access or rights and ensure that those access or rights are what? Are disabled. Oh, why am I saying this? I'll tell you. The institutions that run hybrid system, what I mean hybrid is they got presence in the cloud, not just a cloud estate, multiple cloud estates. You find them in Azure, they have the cloud estates in IBM, they got the cloud estates in AWS, and even names that are not popular. And this same person has access to these cloud platforms outside the intranet of the organization. So remotely you can access through VPN or through other means. I hope you're getting me. Now, on-prem too, the individual has access to multiple solutions. Do you get it? And even have access to third-party environments. Can you see how large or how much that those access are? So don't you see the need for more control measures for that individual while leaving than when the individual was joining? So it means control measures or general controls in the light of logical access now for a leaver should be more than a joiner. I hope this is clear. I hope you're getting it. Please, the concept might look a bit advanced for some of us. If it is, that is the concept of control. Control is quite technical in some instances and can be sometimes logical or advanced or conceptual. But then control is an operational tool. Control is operational, is implementable. So control does not exist in concepts, does not exist in the mind or on paper. No, anything called control is operational and is implementable. So what I'm sharing with you are control measures that in the technological system of organization should be found. So key aspect, HRO must notify IT before or at the time a user is exiting. That's one of the ways to implement these controls or to enforce it, to ensure that, oh, this individual is leaving in a week's time, or in 48 hours time, 24 hours time. So the IT knows what to do. So there has to be constant communication link, seamless communication between IT and HRO. And that's why in the workplace, there shouldn't be friction. There shouldn't be friction whatsoever in the workplace. And if there is, should be addressed as soon as possible. Do you get it? Because there's communication gap between two arms that are meant to relate. And there's that communication gap denies notification of who is leaving, in this instance, HR and IT. What do you think will happen to the man who's gone? The IT will not know. The IT arm will not know. And that man might still be gaining access to cloud environment. And I'm telling you, that risk still occurring currently in some institutions. Some institutions have that. I know 1 or 2 or 3 of you in this class can relate with it. That yes, you are aware of someone who left an institution and was still having access to their cloud environment. Some for weeks, for months after they're gone. It means this type of control is not effective or is not there at all. Then key aspects, their emails, their application, VPN access, all their access to Active Directory, email, application, VPN, database, cloud platforms, and so on and so forth should be disabled. And the organization should retrieve all devices and revoke remote access. It's part of what? Deprovisioning. Then He said this is one of the most critical ITG controls before inactive accounts are a major attack vector. But if this control is not in place, because the employee will continue to have access to confidential information, and then it might become an avenue for cyber attack. Okay, let's look at it. Number 2 in logical access control, authentication and authorization. This control addresses credentialing. The commonest of all control measures in authentication and authorization is username and password. But to strengthen this type of control, make it a multi-factor authentication. What it means is that not only should the password be strong, which is a form of what? Authentication and authorization control, strong password. Can somebody go to the chat segment and give me a description of what a strong password is under the following: length, combination. Somebody can quickly do that if you know it, what a strong password or how a strong password should look like in terms of character length and character combination. Okay, so the use of MFA, multi-factor authentication, I mentioned that quickly yesterday, that there are basically 3: what you know, what you have, and where you, and who you are. So authentication might require that the individual should provide not just their username and password. Thank you. Okay. CHD, HDH. That's good, Utope. That's this quite nice. It's 1, 2, 3. So you might need to refer to the chat. This is a very good, let me say, a simple but strong password. It has an uppercase. It has it has basically four characters you're looking for in a password. The password should have uppercase, lowercase in terms of alphabet. Should have a symbol, that's 2, 3. Then should have numbers, that's 4. Please keep in mind that what makes a password strong: number 1, that password must not be less than 8 characters in length. Then number 2, must have a combination of uppercase, lowercase, that's 2, and symbols, that's 3. That may be exclamation and the likes. Thank you, Maxwell. And then numbers, that's 4. Okay, there's another one that you can include in password, but please do not forget that you included in a password. It is called space. It's quite difficult for that kind of password to be brute forced, most especially you use space like twice in a password. You know space, what I mean by space, the space bar. But oftentimes some people forget to use space bar in password. If you are typing your password and you put space in between characters, except maybe, okay, Keylogger might detect that, but for instance, if you put space at the end of that password or be at the beginning of the password, you know, those is a character. Space is a character. It has ASCII and Unicode symbol to it. You may want to know that. If you know ASCII and Unicode, then you know what I'm talking about. Okay, that's that. Let's move on and look at role-based access control as another form of what? Logical access control under user access management. Role-based and principle of least privilege. That means access to as digital space or digital resources to a user must not exceed their role. What's his role? He's an accountant. Yes, as in the account office. What exactly is his role? Is the account officer in charge of what? Okay. So access to the accounts application or certain modules in the account application should not go beyond their role. Please keep this in mind. Even when the individual is, let's say the individual is an accountant, that same person should not have access to all the modules, right, in the account solution, in the account software. Do you get it? Yes. Such level of what? Control implementations, what called role-based. Unlike in some other implementations, an account officer can have access to every module in the account software. No, it shouldn't be. Going by role-based and least privilege, he should be able to do what? Perform accounting transaction on that solution, not exceeding his responsibilities. Okay, the key aspect will be job roles determine system privileges. Access is linked to strictly to what they need the system for. But in the absence of this control, there will be internal fraud, and it simplifies access management. Access management become where there's no role-based access control and least privilege, the access management will be simplified. Anyone, that means anyone can gain access to any resource just after their login. A good example where there is absence of role-based access control and this privilege is if you run a system where users just log in, that's all the control there. Whatever they do within, share resources, access resources, go to you. I mean, they can download they can even install on their computer, on their corporate computer in their custody. That means access control is way too simple. Do you get that? If all they need is just have a computer and their login detail, I mean, have an account, that's all. Then your access control is too simplified. It's too, in fact, it's not strong enough. Okay, privileged access management is another form of what? User access management. In this light, when we say privileged access, there are certain accounts we call privileged access account. These accounts have privileged access. For instance, like the admin account, root user account, database administrators account, the network engineers account, or the network administrators account. These are highly privileged accounts. These accounts come with minimal restrictions, very minimal restrictions. And reason is because these are the admin. So should you restrict them? Yes, you can. Using SOD, segregation of duty can be used to restrict what they do. Yes, yes. That can be done at the server end or by the IAM expert if you run, use an IAM server or an authentication server. So these accounts, what would be the ideal control measure over this account with such privileged access? Number one, dedicated, under key elements, dedicated privileged access management tool can be used to manage this kind of account. Some of these tools are CyberArk, Beyond Trust, or Tacotic. You can search these tools online. Yes, you can employ these tools to manage privileged accounts. Then password vaulting and rotation, that passwords must be changed. Then monitoring and recording of privileged sessions, keep logs. In fact, you can use CM2, security information and event management system, can be automated or can be installed and automated to monitor these privileged accounts so that if there's an abuse, it can be detected early and the needful can be done. Then just in time accounts, GIT, users get privileged access only when needed. Yeah, there are instances where we apply just in time access. Yes. Take for instance, while on the job, suddenly the superior becomes ill and is taken to the hospital or the hospital for treatment. And there are work that needs to be done, like approval. Next in line to that officer might just be granted an elevated privilege to complete that day's job or the current task of that superior. Do you get it? So that he can now act within a short time. And after which, and just before that day or for that moment, and after which the access will be denied. We call such elevated privilege just in time access. It's meant to be temporary and it's meant to be programmed to reverse the privilege after maybe the task, that particular task is done, or after a time frame of maybe an hour or two, or in days. Do you get the picture? Okay, so the benefits are to reduce the window of attack and prevent continuous administrator access. But then if it's not there, there'll be an abuse of accounts. Then segregation of duty, I just said, one and the same person shouldn't have so much privileges to initiate and consummate a task without someone either checking what he does or without a stop somewhere so that the second person can start from there or continue from there or check and approve what the individual is currently doing before that task can be complete or consummated. Do you get it? So segregation of duty oftentimes leads to abuse. Sometimes it leads to fraud, leads to a lot of abuses of the digital environment. So example of SOD, a user who can create and approve new accounts. The user who creates the account should be different from the user who authorizes the account creation. So an IAM officer, an IAM officer, that's identity access management officer, can initiate the account creation, but the completion of that account would be performed by yet another officer, so that there will be no room for creation of certain accounts to commit certain inappropriate actions. You know what I'm talking about? An individual with a mindset of committing fraud can create an account for that purpose if he alone can initiate and complete it, to carry out some terrible acts and later disable the account. Do you get what I'm talking about? Okay, so let's move on to the next control, which is general. Please keep in mind, I mentioned that there are 4 pillars in what? In general controls. Pillar 1 is logical access control. And quickly, we saw segregation of duty, privileged access, authentication, authorization. Then we saw what? User access management, right? You can find that here. So let's quickly move to the next pillar, which is what? Which is change management controls. We want to look at the complete for want of time. That's why I'm kind of fast, right? For want of time. I still want to remain within my time frame, while I ensure that the 4 pillars are touched. Otherwise, I can spend the next 2 hours teaching pillar 1 and I still will not be true. Some of these concepts you see are very deep. In fact, not some. All of these concepts, let me just quickly show you. These 4, as you can, these 4 concepts under logical access alone are very extensive. They are very deep, right? But for want of time, I might not be able to go so deep. But if you want to master these controls, SkillToPro is very much available. We are a training institute. We prep participants for technical education, technical competence, and also for certification. So if you're interested, please, you just might want to do well by visiting SkillToPro.com or visit any of our social media, and it will be displayed on the chat segments in a moment. So you do well by knowing more about us, and you can reach out to the secretariat. The phone lines and the email address will be displayed on the chat segment. So reach out to us for your corporate training. You want us to come train your personnel at work, perhaps your IT personnel, or you want us to come do IT controls for not just your IT personnel, but for all the persons who are involved in control management and the like. Reach out to SkillToPro Academy. We will gladly do that for you. We have highly skilled manpower who will do justice to that, both technically, practically, and logically and otherwise. So please, you do well by reaching out. And currently we have some training programs, like we currently run data privacy and protection. Our programs are called Mastering Cybersecurity. That's the name for all our programs, but within it, we now have, because it's a Cybersecurity Training Academy for now. We intend to extend beyond cybersecurity, but we know cybersecurity is very broad, unlike the way it's been pictured out there. Cybersecurity is a very broad as an area of competence. So within cybersecurity, we have data privacy and protection. We got IAM, identity and access management. We got IT controls within cybersecurity. We got GRC, governance, risk and compliance. We got security operations and defense. We got penetration testing. We got ethical hacking. We got vulnerability assessment. We got threat intelligence, and so on and so forth. Quite a whole lot within cybersecurity space. So we as SkillToPro, we don't just teach you everything in one move. No, we believe in specialization. We believe in you becoming a specialist or an analyst. So our training are tailored to individual routes or area of competence or specialization in the field of cybersecurity. So when you go through our training, you can say, yes, I'm a master of cybersecurity with specialization on identity and access management. I hope you get the concept why we call it mastering cybersecurity. No, I'm a master of cybersecurity with specialization on governance, risk, and compliance. and the likes. Hope that is clear. So if you want a full dose of this training for yourself or for your friends or for a group or for your institution, you do well by reaching out to us. And I will give you a more comprehensive outline of this training. This is just on the surface. It's quite, this skill set is quite horizontal, and both horizontally oriented and vertically oriented. So let's move to the next, which is change management. There are three aspects of controls or categories of controls within change management. What is change? Grammatically, implement modification, alteration to an initial state or to a current state. Let me put it this way. A modification or an alteration to an original state or to an initial state or to a current state, so that it changes form from its state. Function, what do you mean? For instance, configuration, right? Okay, a quick one. You lock your phone using PIN, then you altered the PIN. That's change. Or using a pattern, or you realize perhaps there's password leak to your email, or your email's password, you just realize for whatever, maybe for the obvious reasons, that, oh, it's leaked. So what do? You want to initiate a password change. Now, router configuration, or server configuration, or even switch configuration, or access point configuration, or even your phone configuration, or your printer configuration, or even your CCTV recorder configuration might require some changes. So in a corporate setting, change to system resources should not go without some control measures. Not everyone should just gain access to our system resources or our digital resources or to our digital space and initiate a modification without, even if the individual is our web administrator, even if he's our systems administrator, even if he's our database administrator, with such, of course, now is the process owner over there, is the one manning it. So he should be able to initiate a change or some changes. Of course, such should not occur it should not occur in an ideal setting without going through a change management procedure. So there is a general control stipulation or specification for change, for such modification. Even when that modification is genuine, it should still go through a process or some processes. So this control measure ensures that modifications to our system applications and infrastructure are properly reviewed, tested, approved, and implemented. I'll give you a good example where change management, failure to comply with change management led to more than 2 million computers, operating system corrupted. I mean, if you remember the case of, sometimes last year, CrowdStrike. If you're very conversant with software update and CrowdStrike, can I get a thumbs up or two? Remember the case of CrowdStrike last year? One of Microsoft's major patch management supports. They provide patch management support to Microsoft, not just to Microsoft alone. There are a lot of IT, thank you, Barakat. There are a lot of software developers who outsource their patch development. Sorry, we use the word patch for updates, right? Okay. So for their updates, a lot of, let's say some major software developers are not the one developing their updates. It is outsourced. So CrowdStrike is one of such software development institutions in the world, a very known name in that client, in software development world, who provide patch management or patch management support to Microsoft and some other popular names in the tech world. But there was a violation of the change management control. There's what we call release, right? Release management, when patches are developed and they are launched so that systems that are online at that time immediately would receive, or systems that now later come online, would receive that notification that there's an update. You would agree with me that your phone's operating system do display on the screen that once a while that there's an update, even the apps you use, right? So in that instance, that patch was released, but that release violated change management control as stipulated by Microsoft. Fine, the institution has been charged for, has been engaged and charged with the responsibility of developing patches and releasing them to Windows systems all over the world. But then that release, that's the release of the patch, the update, failed in that instance to go through Microsoft's agreed upon change management procedure with CrowdStrike. And that singular release, violating its control, led to more than 2 million computers. That day alone, 1 point something million computers crashed. That day alone. You can go online. It's still online. Please go and read about it. That day alone, more than 1,000. In fact, not even all over the world, at least just within the Azure, yes, just within the Azure estate alone, or the Azure ecosystem alone, led to that massive crash. So come to think of, if that update were to cut across all operating systems, those within the Azure cloud and outside Azure, what do you think we'll be counting today? We had such a crash too, sometimes I think year 2000 or 2001. If you remember the history, the story very well, I think that from the same Microsoft, I know in the early 2000s, there was another global crash of the operating system. So it is what failed there is called change management procedure. So let's quickly look at the three arms of change management with the three control measures within change management. The first is called the change management life cycle. To implement change, either to source code or configuration, whatever the technological change that should be initiated, or any change to our digital space or resources, should go through a life cycle. First, there should be a request. And that request must log the following: these details, the nature and purpose of that change. Why? Systems affected that requires, the systems that are affected now, or the affected systems requiring a change in form of patch or updates or a fix. Then the risk assessment performed, or to be performed, to determine if that change, that modification form of risk, which we often call emerging risk. Then rollback plan. Should that change introduce some risk? Do we have a rollback plan to quickly roll back to the last functional state before we initiated the change? Let me bring this closer to you. I don't know if you've had the experience in the workplace, or you've heard about one where organizations migrate from a particular software to another software. Like in banking at the time, there was migration from FlexCube to Finacle. If you're in banking here, you agree with me that there was a time in the first decade of this year, a lot of banks were using FlexCube, that they migrated from FlexCube to Finacle, right? Okay. Some other institutions migrated from one database to another database, like maybe to SAP or to Oracle and the likes. I don't know if you've ever, whether it happened in your place of work, you've heard about such. That's change. You are migrating from one state to another state. One in the day, or you are moving from Windows 10 to Windows 11. That's change, because the last state of that device would change software-wise, not because the physical state is changing. It is HP, it's Dell, it's Asus, it's, you know what I'm saying, CISA. But then the logical state That is, the operating system is changing. Definitely, it will affect, it will bring about somewhat. Either user interface will change, user experience, even as basic as your site. If you're giving a website a facelift, that's change. So there should be a request to it. Even when it is valid, it should still go through this cycle of a request, then an approval. There has to be an approval to it, either by the change manager, or if the organization doesn't have one, the business owner, or the IT lead. Then there should be what? Tests to that change. For instance, the software. That software should what? Should be tested in an isolated or controlled environment. If you are bringing a software update to an existing solution, you should first of all launch it on a computer not connected or not handling transaction processing. And this, identify the effect of that change. Is it positive or negative? Is it desired or undesirous? Then you don't roll that change into the live systems. Otherwise, if that change or that patch, that update, that configuration is not properly performed, it might lead to a vulnerability, right? Okay, so then across that cycle, we got implementation. This time, after you've done the necessary development and tests, then if it has to do with software, then you now implement, you roll out the change. We call this deployments. Then there should be what we call post-implementation review. That is, after the change has taken place, they should now, the configuration has taken place, software update has taken place, someone should now vet or vouch the impact of those words, the change, the impact the change has brought, if it is genuine, if it's desirous. Otherwise, we should roll back. Please do not allow your IT personnel to tell you. This is very common with IT. I'm an IT pro also, but it's very common with us, my colleagues in the system. They will tell you, yes, it's good, it's this. Let the internal control unit carry out a review of that implementation. Sometimes we are humans, we are not machines. Even machines make mistakes sometimes, not to even say IT personnel. Sometimes some releases or some changes to existing state of technology are wrongly performed, and it might go undercover if there is no assessment or review, post-implementation review. Do you get it? Can I get a feedback from anybody in the house? Were there a time or two in the past where you knew that IT made the mistake, but IT did not own up to it, and IT covered it? Can I just don't tell me exactly what happened? Just give me a thumbs up. Or yes, you had that you know that the problem digitally is due to IT's error. You know what I mean by IT operations error, but they are not owning up to it, or they are covering it. I'm an IT pro too, so I know what I'm saying. I know we're not perfect. Thank you for that feedback. Thank you. Max was laughing. Yes, we do some mistakes sometimes that are major, and so if there is no assessor assessing it, or a reviewer reviewing what we've done, it might go it might go undercover, or it might just go like that, and sometimes IT might not reverse what they've done. And because they did not reverse it, might now become create an attack surface in the future. For some, I'm sorry to say this, though I'm not undermining the tech professionals, that there are some cyber attacks, very critical cyber attacks, that were due to the negligence of my colleagues in the profession. Okay, number B is what? Key control concepts in this window called change management. There should be what? This is one control. Formal change request documentation. Then number 2, we should test, and then the quality assurance environment separate from production. What they are saying is just a continuation from this cycle. This is the cycle in change, but these are the actions, right? Controls. There should be formality, a formal documentation. Then where the test is performed, the system for testing an update or a patch should be different from the server or the computer performing live production. Then they should have a change advisory committee or board to review and approve change. This applies to very large institutions anyway. But then you can also you can apply, you can use the IT steering committee instead of a change advisory board. If the organization is not big enough to have this, you can use the IT steering committee in this regard. Then the next concept within change is what? Within this change is emergency changes and patch management. The institution should have emergency change measure in place. For instance, they said, okay, for emergency changes, there are instances or incidents that can occur that we might not be able to go through this entire, look at it, this entire life cycle, request, approval, test, you know what I'm talking about. There are some emergencies that require us to do the needful, quick. For instance, these emergencies might lead to what you call, might be sudden system outage or a serious security vulnerability that just showed up, which we've not seen, or an application failure. So what should be the control during emergency? It should be the IT control. Approval from senior IT personnel. This can be fast-tracked. But there are instances to where we cannot go through all the cycles. But please, no matter how urgent it is, at least one personnel should be in the picture before that quick fix is performed. Do you get it? Even at night, even if it's at night where all the management personnel, senior officers who are primarily involved in the change management cycle, they all gone home. At least there should be that officer who can be reached and might just give a verbal approval, right? But then this should take place. That's bullet 3, documentation after execution, where there is need for an emergency fix. And if a senior colleague is in the know who has given a verbal approval or just an SMS approval, after the change has taken place, please initiate proper documentation as though the change is about to take place. Do you get it? Do not, oh, thank God, it's been fixed. Let's forget that cycle, that chapter is over. Yeah, no, the chapter is not over. Go back to the stipulation of the change management procedure and maintain that order even after performing that. That's what the control says. Do you get it? So under patch management, should be able, what do we address in terms of patches? Talked about security vulnerabilities. Look out for, is this patch addressing a security vulnerability before you roll it out? Is it going to address functional defects? These are issues you must consider before you roll out what? Patches. Will it improve performance? Oh, there's a new update from our vendor. Before you implement that update, verify every update that doesn't come with explanatory notes. Do not execute that update. Do you get that? Every software update should come with what? Some explanations. And that's another reason why in some instances you don't turn on automatic updates. Let it on computer, except you trust the source. You know, with Windows operating system. Yes. I think now Windows doesn't set, I stand corrected, but I think their latest software updates doesn't set updates to automatic anymore. I think it is you that will set it. I think so. In that Windows 11, the current 24H, you know Windows 11 has this updates name 21H, 22H, 23H. I think the current one is even 25H. Yes. I think now update is not set to automatic. It is you that can now set it to automatic. So please look out for update setting on your applications and even on your very critical devices like your phone. Look out for those applications you use. Go and turn off automatic updates. It is safe in this digital age where we are so exposed to cyber attack. It is safe to turn off automatic updates. Hello. Okay. So please ensure that updates and not turn on automatically, except you trust the source, right? Okay, quickly, let's move on and see. This is domain 3 of ITGC. And this has to do with IT operations and data management controls. So let's quickly look at there are 3 arms, 3 categories of controls within IT operations. You know, IT operations. Now, every day we carry out what? We use computers today. Today you also use computer today where you work, right? Now, what are the controls? IT general controls over and within our IT operations. We got system backup and recovery. We got job scheduling and monitoring. Then we got incidents and problem management. These are categories of general controls over IT operations. So let's quickly look at system backup and recovery. Is system backup a control measure? Yes. Yes, quickly. I mean, I want to quickly ask this question. For want of time, I would have been bringing. I was thinking. I mean, I had in mind I was going to be chipping it in that what or which CIA is this control addressing, or would this control address? But for want of time, it was actually in my mind. I was going to be asking why taking you on this journey. That's now quickly. I'll ask system backup and recovery. Look at it keenly. CIA, because I want you to know that at the heart of all these controls are what CIA and beyond authentication, authorization, and the other, we call them operational security requirement. But then let's look at CIA in this picture. System backup and recovery as a control measure. Is it confidentiality this backup and recovery will be addressing, or integrity or availability? You can drop your answer in the chat segment. Please, you do well by doing that. Now, system backup. What exactly are we backing up? We can back up operating system. Yes, Windows. You can back up your Windows operating system. So when it crashes, you can easily restore. Thank you, Martins. Availability can easily restore from the backup. Are you getting me? Talk to your IT guys if they have software. I mean, operating system backup. You can easily restore. Should your operating system crash now, and you have that operating system backed up, it's not a lengthy process, right? You can initiate the backup if you are used to control panel or setting. Please, I can't take you through all the length of this now, the process. But if you're used to software system setting in Windows 11, backup is actually protects availability so that when there's a crash, we can restore the solution from the backup. Thank you for that feedback. So you can do the backup of your operating system. Please note, this is your laptop. I'm not saying corporate laptop. This is your laptop, and you know what you have installed on it. You know how you have configured it, right? And you cannot afford to lose the operating system. An ideal response to that is to carry out what we call system backup. So you can get that done through your setting or through your control panel if you're using Windows operating system, not other operating systems. So, but then an external device will be required where you can store that, like a flash drive. But please, I need you to know, Abiola, thank you. I need you to know that any device like flash drive where you now create the system image, back then you could have that image or backup stored on a DVD, but gone are the days of DVD or CD. And what we use now is what removable devices, storage like a flash drive and X. But please note, an ideal place to store it should be in a flash drive. I'll tell you why. Wherever you store your system image into, that storage device should no longer be used for any other storage. I hope you get that. That's another control measure. Wherever you store your system's image, that's your operating system, the backup now, that flash should be dedicated for that purpose, and go and store it. Go and keep it somewhere. Don't reuse that flash for any other purpose. And then If you already have data, please keep this with caution. If you already have data in a flash drive, you want to initiate system backup, and you want to have it in that flash drive will be formatted for that backup to be created. I hope you are getting me. So that's if you're using Windows. Windows also has this tool that you can download from. I'm trying to remember that too, and I've used it a lot in the past. It's still in Windows Play Store. I mean, their store. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the tool now. Is if you go to the Windows Store and you type system backup tool, the name will be out. It's from Microsoft themselves. So it's, in fact, that's quite fast. It works fast when you need to create an image. But please know that whatever storage device, like flash drive, you're using to store the image or the backup from your operating system should not be reusable for other personal. No, I mean, it shouldn't be used, for other personal, personal stuff should only be used for that purpose and store. So should your computer OS crash, or you're feeling like maybe it's infected, you get what I'm saying? Oh, easy. You can restore from that image and your system will be restored back to normalcy. If you can't do that yourself, I want to ask your tech guys to do that for you. Do they have an image of the OS in use? Okay, so it's one form of control, not only operating system or system software backed up. Data too can be backed up. Even application software can be backed up. There's some application enterprise solution that you can back up after installing. Yes, you can create an image, not only system software, but application software. You can create an image of those software and back up. I back them up in the cloud or back them into an external storage device. That you should follow the same order. Wherever you back them into, keep that device and do not use for other purpose. Now, let's see practical instances of what recovery measures. We got recovery points objective and time objective. These are very rich concepts. These two concepts inform backup, or what I call incident management. Please keep in mind that system backup and recovery are control measures or control implementations within incident management. Do you get that? Or within business resilience? But let's put in this light, incident management. There are these two key, but not only two, more than two, very key measures when developing an incident management strategy. One of them is called recovery points objective and recovery time objective. If your organization is data sensitive, you know what I mean by data sensitive, cannot afford to lose customer data. The data is so precious to your organization. In fact, it's the lifeline of your organization. Then your recovery points, your concentration will be on recovery points objective. What it means is that your backup might either be mirror, or you might either work on what we call clustering, server clustering, or your backup might need to be performed at the shortest possible time, like every 1 hour or 2 hours. Are you getting the picture? But if your organization is not the type that's fine, like financial institutions, probably banks, which they have ROPO, which I'm very used to, is once in a day. That is, they can't afford to lose data exceeding 24 hours. So, or exceeding 1 business day. Let me put it that way. Because if I say 24 hours, that may be too much. Exceeding a business day, which is between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. So they'll carry out backup. In fact, some do backups twice a day, like 6 p.m. in the evening and 6 a.m. in the morning, or 7 p.m. in the evening and 7 a.m. in the morning. So 7 a.m. will take care of will back up all the transactions that took place at night from other channels other than the bank. While the one that takes place at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. in the evening will take care of all the transactions that took place during daylight or during business hours. You get the picture. So ROPO is one of such references or determines backup. But when it comes to RTO, recovery time objective, this measure addresses outage. Do you get it? Outage or downtime. If your organization's system is so critical, I mean, the servers, the computers, they are so critical to daily activities that should they fail, business will stall. For instance, like ATM machines, POS machine. Okay, you run a business and you rely heavily on electronic transactions rather than payment via cash. Payment in your system is primarily through what? Through that transfer or the use of card. I hope you are getting me. So it means if it's a physical business, it happens physically. I mean, you operate physically, it means you'll be relying on POS, for instance. Now, that means that POS machine is so critical to your business because that is what is being used for payment. So in that instance, your incident response will be guided by RTO, recovery time objective. That is, should that machine goes out or you rely on internet solely to drive business. Now, your incident response would be guided by recovery time objective, RTO. In that instance, how would you implement RTO? If internet is critical to operation, you will now use 2 or more ISP. So that if connection from an ISP is down, what do? You switch to another ISP. Do you get what I'm saying? It means you can't endure downtime for so long. In the case of a POS machine, what you will be doing in that instance might either be to have 2 POS machines, or if it's 1, preventive maintenance on that machine would be frequent because you can't afford to stay for maybe minutes or hours or days without that machine, because the lifeline of the business relies heavily on that machine. Do you get it? I hope that is clear. Okay. I'm gone. I'm just in the third domain and I will shoot my time. So we got recovery time objective and we got backup types. We'll have full backups, incremental backup. I wish I could go through all these 3 primary backup types, but I'm sorry I can't. Please, host, give me some additional time. I'll wrap it up in a moment. Just give me some time
Okay.
more. So
All
thank
right.
you. Thank you. So within our system recovery and backup and recovery, we got media management. There is control, or there are control measures for managing our storage media, most especially whether the detachable media, that's the removable media, like external hard drives, or the not so easy to remove media. Yes, like NAS, network attached storage. I'm not saying NAS is not detachable, it's not removable. After all, NAS is connected to your network using network cable, so you can easily pull out the cable. But for those of you know what network attached storage is, you know, it can be so critical when you remove NAS, when you detach it from your network. But then for external storage, like, removable drives like external drives, be they HDD or SDD, fine, or tapes. Do you mean tapes can be used for backup? Yes, not your regular cassettes like those ones we used back in the days, but it's still in use, but not so much in use. Tape drives for backup. Then we got the very popular one like Google Drive, Google One, and the likes. OneDrive, you know them. They are cloud storage. I've got network storage like SAN, storage area network, and network attached storage. So these are media that can be used for backup. What are the control measures? They should be labeled. Each storage media should have a label so we can identify storage media for backup and the ones not for backup. And also, depending on the backup method you're using, there is this grandfather, father, son model to backing up. So when we grandfather, father, son, referring to the storage media, the one that is used to back up once a month is the grandfather. The one that is used to back up once a week is the father, which is usually full backup. So the grandfather and the father will always perform full backup, but the son will only perform incremental backup or differential backup. I'm sorry for want of time. I can't go so deep. This is an ideal backup management procedure or system. Backup has become a critical control measure in workplace because a lot of institutions in the past have suffered dearly from a system outage or crash for which there was no backup. I hope you're getting me. So that is why a lot of institutions now carry out backup. And not only do they want to, but because there are standards or there are laws mandating, yes, there are laws obtainable in some climes of the world, like in UK, I mean, like in EU, UK, US, and some other parts of the world that mandate backups. So the control measure again include the offsite storage. Your detachable backup media should not be stored in the same location where the master file is, so that any exposure will not also crash or affect the backup media. Then encryption of backup media. Then we got data disaster recovery plan. And sorry, I can go to all of this. Sorry for want of time. So number two in IT operation is scheduling. That is another lovely part when it comes to control, ITG. But please permit me to just move on quickly to the last domain. This is another very critical pillar in ITGC. And this has got to do with systems development. For those who are into software development, you can agree, or if you've been part of a software development team, you agree with me that a whole lot of control is necessary. A whole lot of IT control is expedient in the development of software or solutions. One of such, we got three pillars here within system development and acquisition. We got SDLC, we got application security, and configuration. Now, you may have heard some persons or someone said, I'm a software tester. I don't know if you've heard or you met someone who claims he's a software tester. Oh, this is where they belong. Sorry, for want of time, I couldn't just tell you job roles. Yes, job roles within ITGC. There are lots of job roles. See, these control measures we're talking about, there are persons, like a Q tester, thank you, Manuel. There are persons that perform this control or implement this control, but it is their responsibility to perform it or to implement it, I mean. There are job roles. So is IT control is so broad, then ITGC an aspect of IT control. If the mother is broad, then what would you expect of the child? The child will be so broad then, right? Because it's the broadness of the children that determines the broadness of the mother. So the mother here, or the father here is the IT control, and the kids here, or the sub kids, the grandkids and great grandkids within it, they all make IT controls a very broad concept. And IT controls, like I said, from yesterday's class, cuts across the entire organization and all its infrastructure, be it in the cloud, on-prem, in virtual state, logical state, and what have you. So in systems development, we got SDLC. What it means is that this is fine. System development, this is a project management method or methodology for developing solutions. And it's got these steps, as you can see, from requirement definition or gathering to maintenance, which is post-implementation phase in software development or in system development. But the control measures are one that requirements are properly captured. Sometimes software fail to meet their expectations or their objectives, whether software we develop or the software we acquire fail to meet requirements, the needs of the institution, because the requirements were not properly defined. And that is why phase one is called requirement definition, requirement gathering. That what we call functional requirement, non-functional requirements, when determining the need for a solution. What this means is that we don't just procure technology because we want to or because we have the money. No, we procure technology because there is a need for it. So the phase that captures that need adequately in system development lifecycle is called requirement definition. And in defining requirements, you must capture what we call functional requirements and non-functional requirements. And you don't stop at that. You capture what we call systems requirements, user requirements. Do you get it? What does the system want? As in, why is this solution to this system? How will this solution aid user efficiency or productivity? All of these are captured. So the control measure here is to ensure that there is proper documentation and approval of business requirements before we go ahead to procure. Technical design reviews and so on must be put in place. We got securing development environments. Oh, let's say we are developing a software. We are not acquiring it, or we're developing a solution, the database, the sites, or the web application. We're not acquiring them. The environment where they are to be developed must be secure. And that is why today's standard requires that, don't develop our solution in your personal laptop or your network. We don't want. Develop it in the cloud, like the GITS. If you know the GITS we have today, GitHub and the lab and the likes, go and develop there. Don't develop on your laptop. Why? Because that's a control measure. Why are we putting that control measure in place? Why are we telling our software developer that he should develop the solution in the cloud, not on the system? Because we trust the security within that development environment over the control or security measure on his laptop. You get the picture. More so, we also believe that that development environment has all the tools you would ever need, or the team will ever need to get the solution done from start to finish. So don't do it on your device, do it there, because also the source code will be preserved. We've got a program library where the source code can be stored, or a library for the source code. So we trust that environment. What if while you are developing, you are attacked and the laptop is stolen? So what would you tell us? So you get a picture of securing development environments, and then securing that. Then we have oh gosh, permit me to just move on quickly. Then we've seen system development as a control tool. Then is application security, ensures that the software is built with security in mind. One of such control measures when it comes to security, application security, which we call AppSec, is one, secure coding practices. These ones got nothing to do with technology. This got to do with the development itself, the programmers, that they comply with best practices in writing code. Please, this got nothing to do with development, testing, or got nothing to do with technology. No, that the developer himself is complying with standard best practices while coding. Some of us might not know that there are standard or industry best practices for writing code. That is the beginning of sound solutions. A software is said to be good and performing well because it all starts from the coding. The developers complied with coding practices. Do you get that? Before we now begin to talk about security testing. Are you getting me? Oh, let's test for this, test for that. Then you now carry out the likes of manual testing or automated testing, or okay, you bring your test down to pen testing because you're testing for security or to vulnerability scanning. You get the picture? It all starts from coding. If coding is sound, there will be minimal errors or close to no error. Although it is always said that it's difficult to find a code that doesn't have error. Then we get configuration management, and the control measure is hardening the system, setting security baselines. So I'll stop here. I'm sorry I had to move with speed, and I also have to consider you. The timeline is just 2 hours, and I've exceeded it. 2 hours for everything. So thank you very much for giving me extra time. I'm grateful. Dear host, over to you.
Thank you so much. Please let us appreciate him. Let us appreciate Adefolo Show for that insightful and high practical session. It has been awesome. Yes, thank you. It deserves it. Now, without wasting too much of our time, we'd like to open the floor for questions. This is the opportunity to seek clarity, share observations, and engage directly. on the topics covered so far over the 2 days. So please let us remember that all questions are important. There's no more small questions or irrelevant questions here. And so you can unmute your mic to ask your question directly, or if you prefer, type your question in the chat box and we will relay them. Please try to keep your questions clear and concise so that as many participants as possible can benefit. You can ask your questions now if you have, or if you have observations. Please take full advantage of this session. Today is the final day, so this is the perfect moment to address any lingering doubts that you have. So Maxwell is asking if there is a specific role tied to this training.
Okay, thank you, Maxwell, for this question. Like I said at a point in this training, tonight's class, that we're just looking at this concept on the surface. IT controls, specifically general controls, does not have a specific role. This set of controls are meant, one, we got developers of the controls, we got implementers of the controls, we got assessors of the controls. I hope you get me. So in the light of IT operations, there is need for control. So who develops it? Who approves of those controls? Who implements it? In the light of IT, I mean, that's what IT, in the light of software development or in the light of systems development, who develops the controls? Who approves it? Excuse me. Who translates it into operations or who operationalizes them? So it goes across functions. And there are some institutions actually with IT control office. I don't want to mention, but it's quite common with telecommunication industry and banking. If you look deeply into the structure, organizational structure of telecom organizations and banking, you will see IT control somewhere inside. So what I'm saying is there are persons who are employed into that office. I currently have a colleague who is the team lead of the IT control office of one of our very big banks. He's a colleague. We both belong to the same professional body. So what I'm saying is for some institution, it is a unit or a function. For some, it is spread across functions, like within IT audit departments, some cybersecurity inside their job role or responsibilities are what IT controls. So it's spread. Do you get it? But then those who have IT controls as their responsibility are what who are saddled with the responsibility of implementing controls are the controllers and IT controllers, cybersecurity personnel, those in the IT arm, back end, network. The network administrator, systems administrator has on him the responsibility to implement IT controls. Software developers have on them the responsibility to implement IT control. The project manager also has on him the responsibility to ensure that IT controls are built by design into or default into, sorry, there's by design and there's by default. So don't let me go into that for now, into the solution right from the design phase. So it all depends on the organization. There can be a dedicated officer for it, or it can be integrated into existing job roles. I hope that's clear. I've mentioned some who have it upon themselves to carry out IT community, primarily the cybersecurity personnel. Is that clear enough?
Thank you so much, Funsho. Do we have any other question? Okay. Okay, Maswell, do you have any other question from anyone before we wrap it up? Okay, so if you have questions for us, You can reach out to us via our social media platform or info@skilltopro.com. And as we wrap up the class, I want to appreciate everyone for your active participation throughout today's session. A special appreciation goes to our instructor, Funsho, for your depth of knowledge, clarity, and practical guidance. We thank you, and it has been a remarkable training. We are grateful for your time and the immense value you've shared. And to all participants, everyone here, thank you for your commitment and engagement from day one until today, the final day of the Mastering Cybersecurity IT Control training. Your contribution in terms of participation and focus demonstrates in real life that your dedication to excellence in your professional journey. Before we officially close for today, please, I want you to take note of the following next steps. So a short assessment for this training will be sent to your email. Do not be anxious. Don't fret. This assessment is only to help you measure how well you understood the key points from the training. The pass mark is 50%, and you will have a maximum of 3 attempts. Once you pass, your certificate will be sent directly to your email. Now, please allow me to share something very important as we look beyond this training. I often compare career advancement to a sailor navigating open waters. A ship without a direction will drift endlessly. And a ship guided by a compass always finds meaningful destinations. The world changed after the pandemic, and the pandemic years changed the global workplace forever. Today, skill is the compass that determines who moves forward, who stands out, and who fills higher roles that organizations desperately need. Whether you are an employee aiming to, elevate your relevance, or you are an aspiring professional seeking to compete locally or globally, specialized skills are no longer optional. They are your competitive advantage. And this is why I strongly encourage you to advance beyond this free training and join any of our paid professional programs, which the next the next batch will begin in January 2026. These programs have helped many individuals secure better roles, gain international opportunities, and become highly competitive in a fast-changing digital world. So I would like to explain few. Our instructor has mentioned some of the courses we have, and but I would like to reiterate these 3 powerful tracks among others. This displays the analyst class, but we also have the specialist class for them. And this is governance, risk compliance, GRC, data privacy and protection, DPP, and security operations. Permit me to speak briefly on them. The governance, risk and compliance course. This program prepares you to operate at the heart of organizational decision making. You will learn how to design policies, make risks, understand the regulations, and support leadership in building secure and compliant business environments. Professionals in this part are in high demand across various sectors, such as banks, fintech companies, telecommunication firms, consulting houses, and even government agencies, to mention a few. It is an excellent path for those who want strategic visibility and authority. Now, for data privacy and protection course, this course focuses on laws, principles, operational practices that guides data usage across organizations. You will learn how to interpret privacy requirements, manage data life, and so on. So it is very important as well. Then the security operation course it's a program designed for individuals who want to understand security monitoring, incidents handling, threat response, amongst others. It gives you hand-on competence that can position you for both local and international opportunities. Security operations also remains one of the fastest growing area in cybersecurity. We offer, structure and highly effective preparation for other professional examinations such as CISA, CISM, amongst others as well. Our training approach focuses on clarity, practice, real understanding, and help candidates build confidence.
Okay. Hello everyone. I guess we lost our hosts by way of a connection, internet connection there. And thank you. She was trying to expand on our certifications, I mean, our current training, which are basically
Hello,
GRC.
I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yeah, you are welcome back. I was just, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, like I was explaining, we also offer structured and highly effective preparation for professional examinations such as CISA, CISM, and others. And our training approach focuses, like I explained earlier, on real understanding. It helps candidates to build confidence and perform well in their exams. In addition, you can also make good use of our quarterly free cybersecurity training. We had the last one in August, which is available on our YouTube channel right now. The full program contains 6 detailed classes, an additional bonus class titled Exploring the UK Global Talent Visa Route for those interested. This bonus session guides you through the basic steps, requirements, and opportunities available for professionals who want to, position themselves for international mobility through the UK Global Talent Pathway. All the 6 classes are open for free viewing until December 31st this year. From the 1st of January 2026, they will no longer be available at no cost and will become part of our paid learning library. This is a good time to watch each lesson, every lesson this December, revisit important sections and build stronger understanding of core security concepts. Participants who complete all assessments tied to this free training will also be awarded a certificate. This gives you the proof of learning that you can add to your professional portfolio and share on LinkedIn or include in job and internship applications. These programs comes with rich content and expert guidance and practical learning. The tuition is highly favorable compared to the value and the quality you will receive. You cannot find this level of affordability. Trust me, you cannot find it. And the depths of curriculum, the depths are easy and you can't find them easily. So if you are determined about advancing your career, this is the right time to register. Another important thing to note is that SkillToPro Academy, we support corporate organizations with employee development, just like Funsho has mentioned earlier. We train employees within organizations, and if your department or your unit requires skill development for your team, do not hesitate to reach out to us. You can also recommend SkillToPro Academy to your, HR, and if you're a business owner, we can do that for you as well, or manage or your management for corporate training proposals. We are fully equipped to support workforce development in line with global best practices. If you can hear me, please, I want to have a reaction from you so that I will know that you understand me. Yeah. So please, um, to stay informed on upcoming trainings, free sessions, professional resources, and other opportunities, I'd like you to follow us on our Skill to Pro Academy on all our social media platforms such as WhatsApp community, Telegrams community, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and X, which is formerly known as Twitter. Staying connected ensure that you never miss any information that can support your growth. This will be sent to you as acknowledging of the completion of your training. So let me close with this final thought because I know I've said a lot. Knowledge is like a seed. when planted and nurtured, it grows into a tree that provides support and shelter. And the good thing about it is that it's not just for you, it's for many others. So keep investing in yourself, keep learning, keep upgrading your skills, keep building capacity. Your development is not only for you, you will contribute meaningfully to the country's development and to the world around you. And on behalf of Skill2Pro Academy, I say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. Thank you.